Welcome to the Legion of Lean podcast, where we battle mediocrity and build the best versions of ourselves. Get ready to transform.
My next question with you is, if somebody comes to you and they say, I'm a vegan or vegetarian, how do you approach that with them? Because knowing you and knowing me, right, working out protein is, numero uno, right? You got to get a lot of protein. And so how do you approach that with someone if they tell you that they're vegan, or do you just turn them away?
It's numero uno as far as this. That's it. Yeah, protein is the most important macronutrient. It's not even a question. It's science.
Yeah.
Your body has to have protein. Your body doesn't have to have carbs. That doesn't mean carbs are the enemy. People misinterpret what I say sometimes. And your body has to have three fats, omega-3, omega-6, omega-9. We're loaded up on 6 and 9. We need 3, so that's the one we're deficient in. So as far as veganism is interesting too, because there's not a lot of studies that show they live a long time. Even the vegan gurus, they don't live that long. There was one person who lived like 108 years old being vegan, but there's also there's a chick that smoked cigarettes every day. Her whole life lived to be like 115. So you can't cherry pick one person. Correlation and causation are two different things. But whenever it comes to vegans, first of all, I find out how indoctrinated it is in their philosophy. I train a vegan right now who's not really a vegan. Most people are liar vegans. They say I'm vegan because it might be the cool cliche thing to be right now. And then they get drunk and eat all kinds of freaking meat. So they're liars. You know what I'm saying? Also, most vegans eat a lot of fried foods, which is extremely unhealthy. And so first I find out how not indoctrinated they are in the vegan philosophy. Because then there's a lot of false assumptions behind that people pull. Like I had one guy say, he watched the Game Changers, which was probably one of the most disgusting documentaries I've ever seen, because the documentary will tell you one side. I'm honest, and I think you're the same way. I really care about my health. I care about your health. And so I don't really want to be blinded by my bias. I'll research if protein's not good for me. I want to know, right? And we talked about that. We talked about it earlier. You said, get organic. If protein's bad, it's because man's made it bad, not because it's bad inherently. Because you have those 21 amino acids build up the structure of your body. Like 14 to 16% of your body is made of protein. The only thing that has more weight in your body, as far as percentage-wise, is water, which is anywhere from 40 to 70%. So you have to have it. So back to your question. I always find out how indoctrinated they are. How much are they really vegan, or did they think it's good for them? Because there's so much misinformation. And so if I start digging and I find out that they're sold, you know what I'm saying, because it's more, in my opinion, it's more of a cult than it is a lifestyle. They typically have completely different ideology in their mind compared to me, completely. And so if I find out we disagree on this, so my line of facts here show me this, their line of facts show me something different. And so to bridge the gap, if they're sold on that idea, it's not going to happen. So most of the time, I think you even told me one time, hey, can you help this vegan? I said, no, I can't. I was just very blunt. At that particular time, remember that? You're in church and said, hey, can you help this? You remember that? I said, no. Not because I don't care about that person, but I'm bombed right now, and I don't want to have the discussion to try to find out why they did it. But I will tell you, there's a client of mine right now, and she's vegan. She's not really vegan. I say she's more vegetarian. She'll eat eggs. And I always ask, are you opposed to it? Not completely. Why are you opposed? Why don't you like, I just don't like killing animals. I understand that. I really do understand that. I don't like killing animals either. But it's like the whole Ted Nugent thing. Ted Nugent, by the way, you probably know what Ted Nugent is. Huh? Ted Nugent gives sound bites like crazy. You know who he is, Ted Nugent?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you know this story, and I was listening to Joe Rogan and Ted Nugent's on there. He's just an interesting character, even if you don't like him. He's so funny to listen to. He was on Joe Rogan, and he was talking about Yellowstone, and Kevin Costner quotes how many animals die whenever they do all these fields, and it's like 10x what cattle and everything else, the weevil, the mole, the squirrel, the rabbits, they just get ground up. And so and in fact I tell them that too. When I like factual information. If you give false facts, I hate false facts. I like real facts. And so give me the real facts, and then we can make a decision. But if you do care about animals, I understand. I don't like to see, it's not like I want to go put a bullet in my neighbor's cow and eat him right there in the field. You know what I'm saying? I like the way we do things right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to go kill my food. You know what I'm saying? I get rid of. And maybe if I had cattle, I know this, if I had cattle, guarantee you, we wouldn't eat them, Corey, because my wife wouldn't. They'd all be named, and, my wife would be putting dresses on them. I say, we tend to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to eat Betsy now, unfortunately. Thank you so much.
I'm just waiting. I think in this next week or so, I'm picking up half a cow. So.
Oh man, that's good. That's good. That's good.
So that'll be nice.
As to the name of the cow, what was the name of the cow? But yeah, so that's what I do. If it's a vegan, it's like, okay, I find out, because sometimes it happens in the middle of the conversation. You ask at the beginning, what questions do I ask? It comes up in the conversation. It has to, and so wherever it comes up in the conversation, I'll find out, what kind of food you eat. I'm vegan. And like, if I've been talking to a person 35 minutes before I get to that question, Corey, it's like, oh. But then I'll go down that rabbit hole with them. And it happened recently, and I really like the person. It's nothing personal, unless it's personal, but it's nothing personal with that girl or anybody else. But I always, and then I typically try to bring them over to my way of thinking with facts. Some people are immune to facts. I will tell you I've given one refund in the past 20 years. And it was a lady who was vegan, and we didn't get along at all. Obviously, not because she was vegan. She's crazy. And I told my wife. In fact, whenever I say I've never given back people's money, I have, because sometimes it's like my app will charge somebody after I cancel, and so I'll refund their money there. And but as far as refund their money, I never got asked for a refund. This lady asked for a refund, and I said no. And typically I'd be like, if you ask for a refund, I say, yeah, absolutely, no harm, no foul, you're good. But obviously I'd be like, why? But this person asked for a refund. I said no, I'm not giving you a refund. The only reason why, because I like the conflict. He's like, no. I'm not going to give you a freaking refund. And so we argued back and forth. You did this, you didn't do this. And I said, I did this. Anyway, but I don't know why I said that. But me and the vegan philosophy, sometimes if they're entrenched, we're going to have, I know this 100% that we're going to have issues if they're indoctrinated. This other person I trained, by the way, now is not. She's a great person. I train her, and she's eating chicken and she's eating eggs. She just doesn't eat red meat. That's fine. Eventually I'll get her to eat a steak with me, though. I promise you, Corey. It tastes so good. Okay, what other questions you got for me?
All right, so I got one more for you.
One more.
I don't know. This one might take us a while. But so do you always want a client that you're starting to work with, or maybe you've been working with, do you always want them to get some sort of blood work to check some markers? And if you do, what ones do you, I don't want to say deem more important than others, which ones do you look more closely at as far as like blood markers go, for a client, whether it's for a competitor, whether it's for someone that you're looking to lose 50 pounds, are you looking at cholesterol? Are you looking at what triglycerides? What might it be? Because I give you my blood work, right? Because I want you to analyze it, because I trust your expertise. And so you're probably, for me, you're looking at different things than or maybe not, than for someone that that's trying to lose some weight.
Well, first of all, what's funny is I didn't do it for years. I didn't look at people's blood work because it's okay, that's crazy. But it's kind of like looking at the gauges of your car. If something's wrong and I know what it is, I want to fix it. And so, or different levels. As far as overall health, hepatic levels need to be under 50. If they are, you need to give blood. Their blood sugar levels, that's important. Cholesterol levels, not a big deal for me. For most of them, they're not a big game changer. There's a guy my doctor is phenomenal. His name is Dr. Michael Twyman. And Dr. Michael Twyman taught me so much about health and nutrition, but he's probably, in my opinion, he's the best heart doctor in the United States. And he's my heart doctor. And whenever I first went to him, because my wife wanted to, I actually came off like a 20-day fast, Corey. And when I came off that 20-day fast, I just was very tired, obviously, but my wife was worried about me. I fasted for freaking 20 days, but she's worried about me. And so I went to the doctor, and I really like this guy. He's a great guy because he doesn't just prescribe pills. He actually thinks, and He's on the fringe about everything. He made me wear these glasses, the blue blocker glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I was wearing all that kind of stuff because of. So I like all that stuff, even if there's anecdotal evidence. I like it better. At least it's a different thing rather than give me a pill. And I remember filling out all the paperwork, Corey, and he had, how much protein do you have? And I said, boy, I know this guy's going to nail me on this because I have 240 grams of protein a day. And he said, well, this is good. I said, well, my guy, we're going to get along, right? Because I'm a big protein guy. But he wasn't really that interested in cholesterols. Obviously, there's different kind of cholesterols. Like HDL is really not as big a deal as what most people think it is. But as far as for a competitor, I look at your testosterone levels. Where's your testosterone levels? Get this, Corey. I mean, that's the major marker. And if everything else is normal, because I don't know everything about blood work, but I'll look at the markers and say, okay, this is average, this is average. And a lot of times I'll just have to look it up because I don't like the majority of people. This is, well, hey, can I get your blood work? My doctor takes care of that. Okay, well, I'm not a doctor, you know what I'm saying? So it's not going to do that. I will put on in the show notes, I'll show the blood work thing that I recommend people to get on the bottom. I can't think of the name of it right now, but I have it and I send it to people. I didn't send it to you, but I can. But where was I going with that? Testosterone levels. Get this, Corey.
Yeah.
Since 1980, testosterone levels in men have plummeted 1% yearly. That means right now, 45 people now have 45% less testosterone than they did 80 years ago. Since the year 2000, we went down 151 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone in our blood since the year 2000. That's freaking crazy. And so those are the things I look at. I want to look at testosterone markers. In my opinion, it's anywhere from 200 to 800. I like it 1,000 or more. I like it that. I do TRT. I'll always do TRT. I'm not even ashamed of that because even if you try to eat perfectly, you're going to be lower. And so I totally recommend it. There's a place in St. Louis called Victory. I would probably head there if you're not. After the age of 40, and now even in the 20s, people are doing it. I trained a kid who's a bodybuilder, and he never did steroids. If you ever do testosterone, once you do testosterone, those levels are going to drop a little bit. But there's no reason for somebody who's 21. This guy was yoked, man. He was jacked. He's 22 years old. He was a competitor of mine, and just in great shape. And he told me he was natural, and I believed him. And his testosterone levels were like 200. I said, that's insane. Why is it? Because of food. Even though this kid's yoked up, man, got some muscle mass, his testosterone was he had no energy. I said, you never took tests? He said, never did, Don. And I have no reason not to believe him. He was a genetic prodigy as far as what he looked like, but I really believe he was telling the truth because there's no reason not to lie to me. I mean, bodybuilding is full of people who are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And my thought process about drugs is this. I could go to the doctor and get any kind of drug I want. I trust, honestly, I shouldn't say this. They went to school 8 years. I trust my logic better than someone else's if I don't know how they got to the end of their logic. Does that make sense to you? And so if they just give me a pill, it's like, well, okay, why did you give me that pill? If I keep prodding them for questions, why am I doing that? Okay, if they don't have a real answer, I'm going to do the research myself, and I'm going to say, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's kind of like what you were saying with the testosterone drop. I did not realize it was that drastic, but I did. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all because of all the chemicals and things. And I try to explain that to people when they ask me about numbers and things like that. Like, well, should I do this? I was like, I mean, yeah, for sure. Whatever you feel like you should do, your body's not going to lie to you, right? It's going to, if something's hurting, that means, your body will tell you when something's wrong. So, but with the chemicals and things that we're ingesting in our food and our water, even, and you think of like, my grandparents, my grandma was 95. I'm pretty sure she probably smoked for 60 years. Right. So, but the thing is that her, cause she was back in the day when smoking was good for you, right? Doctor,
absolutely.
Let's smoke your cigarettes. It's good for you.
2 out of 3 doctors recommend Camels, right?
That's right. That's right. But the food, right? She grew up in Western Nebraska. Her food was probably traveling less than 50 miles. It wasn't, it was farm to table almost, even though you're buying it from the supermarket or the store, as as we call it, grocery store. It was fresh, right? It was coming, and they picked a lot of their food. So, and obviously we don't, for me to make a garden and grow everything, it's not, I guess I could, but it's not logical, right? It's not feasible for me to do that anymore. It's just, we don't live in that type of society. Some people, you want to go out and buy a plot of land and grow all your food. That's fine. But and that's a big issue too, is, you know, they're talking about, you know, trade between countries, things like that. Well, it's going to raise the cost of our fruits and vegetables. Why don't we grow them here? You know, why do we have to ship them from Europe or from South America when we can easily grow them here? So I think that's, yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of it too, is in order to ship those things, I mean, a lot of those things, they're sprayed with some sort of preservative or, you know, things like that. And so that's a big thing. I think that's a big reason why our testosterone's down. And you even look at, I'm sure maybe you've probably seen this or heard of it, is up until, what was it, like the mid 90s, right? McDonald's used to fry their French fries in beef tallow, which beef tallow is great, right?
Yeah.
But then for some reason, right, they switched to, you know, soybean oil or peanut oil or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously not, you know, you know, it's debatable, but for most people now understand that those things are not as good for you as, you know, beef tallow or you know, butter and things like that. So I think just those changes, and again, what does it boil down to? Money, right? It's cheaper to do it than one way. And so how much money can we make? We can make an extra 3 cents or 2 cents per, even a half a cent per order, if we switch from beef tallow to, you know, some sort of seed oil that may not be good for people, but it's going to help us make an extra half a cent per bag, you know. And so and that's unfortunate too, is that's the society that we live in too. But hey, I think it's like you said, you got to educate yourself. You got to make your own decisions. Even don't let, and I've heard people say that, you know, kind of their doctors, they'll try to kind of persuade them. And I mean, you know, who knows what the motive behind that is. Hopefully it's that they care about you, right? And they want the best for you. But sometimes we know that, you know, when you have pharmaceutical salesmen that are out there explaining why and trying to, you know, convince people that they should take this drug, I think that's kind of when you get into the realm of, you know, for profit. Obviously, we know pharmaceuticals is a, you know, what, $1 trillion business. So, and that's kind of the problem, is that there's so many things out there, and there's so many people that are making a lot of money off of it. When a lot of those things, anxiety, depression, you know, things like that, can be fixed for most people, not all. I'm not saying all, but for some people, you. Your exercise, that's going to fix your sleep. That's just going to lead to a whole mess of, if you just made some little tweaks instead of just saying. But the long term, did you lose me?
I'm with you now, Corey. We froze up for a second. That's okay.
Okay. Anyway, no, I was just saying
that you were on a good. You were.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you froze up, and it wasn't good for me.
Oh no.
You know what I should have done? I should have took over. Instead, I was just waiting for you to come back. Well, there was a dead silence on my side, so the recording was just people staring at me, waiting for you to come back, thinking. Okay.
That's fine. We can.
But they got to look at me. They got to look at me.
Whenever we're able to pick back up. But no,
I wish I'd have heard what you said. You know, I think that was the best thing you said the whole time. If you guys want to hear it, what were you saying?
I was just saying that it's like, you know, it's everybody wants that quick fix. I don't want to change my lifestyle. You know, I don't want to fix my anxiety or depression by having to change what I do, instead of just, hey, take this pill. That's great. Thanks. Now I don't have to change anything, right? I can just keep doing what I'm doing, unhealthy habits. When in reality, the longevity, long-term health, you make these little tweaks, it's going to be a lot better for you in the long term than, you know, popping these pharmaceuticals. I don't know if you heard me the part about when you have all these, you know, people making millions of dollars as a salesman for pharmaceuticals. That's when you kind of get into that realm of little, you know, what's the motive behind it, right?
Oh yeah, well you got the hot chick in the short skirt going in. You know what I'm saying? Hey, buy these pills.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I never did watch it, but there was that next Netflix movie, and I want to say Matthew Broderick was in it, but I don't know, a couple other big actors. But it was basically when they developed, I think it was OxyContin for pain management, and they knew that it was very addictive.
Yeah,
and they said, but don't, you know, nope, we got to push it, sell. And so they're drug dealers, right? They're legal drug dealers, unfortunately. And so I've seen lots of people close to me with just meet their demise really with pharmaceuticals and things like that, because it leads you down a road that you can't get off, unfortunately. Yeah.
It's fascinating. Pharmaceutical drugs, bad news. I think it's amazing how they hand out like antidepressants like candy. It's like, and I guarantee if you look at all the side effects, one of the side effects of every antidepressant is suicide. It's like, well, I thought this was supposed to keep me from feeling that way. I've trained obviously
exactly.
so many people that suffer from that. I think depression, as far as whenever you break it down to the lowest common denominator, it's a problem that don't seem to ever go away. That's the reason why people are depressed. It's the same problem over and over and over again. So now it's medicated. We still don't fix the problem. That's for most people, unless it's like clinical depression, something psychologically wrong with somebody. But
and I think it's when you get into kids that are, 12, 10, 8, 9 years old that, they've got anxiety. No, they don't. They're 8 years old. What do they have anxiety about?
Yeah, too much
they
sugar.
Should not have anxiety.
Yeah. Too much sugar, and they're not running it off. I mean, whenever this is going to be an analogy, it's going to tick some people off. But I have a dog. I don't have kids. And my dog, you know what happens whenever you don't get any exercise? He's hyperactive. He wants to bite my wife in the butt. That's what he does. Biting is his love language, and he'll start attacking her. And he loves it. He's just having a good time. But that's what happens if you don't burn. I guarantee you get that kid that's got the ADD. You give him some omega-3 fatty acids, and you exercise a little bit. Bring exercise back. Make America healthy again.
Right.
You're a PE teacher, so that's awesome. So
We're trying.
Absolutely, it's a little bit at a time, but guarantee you, these kids that have hyperactive, you start running a little bit. Their hyperactivity will go. They don't have all that burn through that sugar, and they'll feel better too.
Right.
I was watching. This is the last thing I'm going to say. I was watching the Science Channel a couple years ago, and they had this psychologist on there or whatever, and this kid had a major ADD. He would have, I don't know what I would have done if I had a kid like him. This kid was crazy, man, running all over the place. He's probably 8 years old. An American flag behind him. No, just kidding. That's your kid. That was he loves America. That's all that matters. But this kid was freaking crazy, man. He was playing like video games, and he was sitting on his head. So he's seeing the TV upside down. You know what I'm saying? He's sitting on his head playing video games, and then he'd jump up, run around somewhere else. And the mom and dad were like, "Oh my gosh, what do we do?"
Yeah.
This is what they did. This is a Science Channel, probably 15 years ago. Got him off sugar, gave him omega-3 fatty acids. And then 4 weeks later, they showed back at the house, and they had the kid was reading a book on the couch. To me, that sounds like crazy. I don't even know if it's true. It could have been just TV, but it was on the Science Channel. They said this happened. I didn't know it was that. I didn't think it could be that drastic, but that was what they showed. And to be honest with you, there's not big money in omega-3s, and so it's like the supplement companies are saying, "Hey, let's push the omega-3s like crack." So I think it was probably legit.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
You get some deficiencies, and you're out of whack chemically. You'll have some anxiety. You have lots of issues. Your body's 70% water, and so if your hormones are deregulated, you got something going on wrong. It's going to affect you a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that was good, man. We talked a little while.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Anyway, well, we'll be back again next week, guys, with another more hot topics. I can't wait till Corey comes up with some more questions to ask me and some more, so he can pontificate and I can pull out this strange wisdom out of my head. Can't wait, man. It's going to be good. Next week, I think we'll talk about, the ex-assistant of health who was a transgender. We should talk about that. Compared to RFK, I think that's what's hilarious. This guy's freaking a dude dressed up like a woman. That's completely normal. But RFK is just questioning vaccines. What happened to this? This is the last thing I'm going to say. What happened with there's no such thing as a stupid question? Remember that? That's what I was saying. No such thing as a stupid question. Hey, maybe you shouldn't put all these vaccines in people. You're stupid. Don't ask that question. You're evil.
That's right.
Just asking a question. No, you can't allow to ask that question. Whenever people cut you off and from asking questions, they got something to hide. It's just facts.
Yeah.
I agree. Hiding their ignorance. I don't know why. So that's what it is. And that's what most people are. Most people aren't inherently evil, right? And so when you ask questions, you ask the right questions, you get to the right conclusion. Anyway, Legion of Lean. This is the podcast. By the way, if you guys want to hear about me and the show notes below, you got my podcast, or you got my last podcast episode. You got my IG account where you can follow me on IG, follow Corey on IG. If you have any questions, ask in the comments and we'll get back with you. And then I guess that's it, man. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow me, and follow Corey too. But until next time, it was a good podcast. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thanks, Don.
I hope you enjoyed the Legion of Lean podcast. Stay lean, hit subscribe, and join us next time.